A house makes you lonelier. When you buy a house and after you fill it with stuff, because that's the first step, you buy a house and you fill each room with stuff, furniture, home decor. After you do that, the next step is you invite people over to see your stuff in your house. You have a housewarming, you have get-togethers. And then you reach a stage after you bought your house, you filled it with stuff, you invited people over. Then you get to a stage, you come home from work and you sit in your house and you look around at the empty rooms. The rooms may have furniture, but there's no people in them. And then you become lonely and despair sets in and you almost force yourself to want a relationship to fill your house. Because looking at empty rooms creates a void in your psyche. So many times when people get a divorce and one person keeps the house, they look around at that house and it basically reminds them that they're alone. It may remind them of memories of the past. But whether you get divorced or not, when you have a house that is not filled with stuff and with people, it creates a void in you. Because there's something about the human psyche that when we look around, we need things to have a purpose and a use. If they don't, we feel the waste, we feel the uselessness of them, and we feel we need to fix it. That's human nature. I owned a house for 15 years. The first step when I bought it was to paint it, put furniture in it, and put stuff in it. Then to invite people over to see my stuff, housewarmings, get-togethers. Then I got to a point I was looking around in my house. And I said, man, I got to get into a relationship. I want someone to share my stuff with. These rooms seem empty. And then I got into a couple of relationships. I realized I really didn't want a relationship. I was just having a house with no one in it made me feel lonelier. And then I got a dog. And I gave my dog the second bedroom, even though I let my dog sleep in my bed. Never date anyone that doesn't allow the dog to sleep in the bed. Because you'll be sleeping in the guest room with your dog, and your cranky spouse will be in the bedroom. And they'll get the house in the divorce. All right, let's stay positive. But, one is don't buy too big a house. How much does one person need? No more than 250 square foot. 250 square foot per person is all you need. And in the 1960s and 70s, they built houses 1,000 square foot or less. Now they build houses 1,500 square foot and up. And that could fit 6 to 8 people. I had a 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath. I was only one person. I only used 250 square feet. I only used my mattress, the toilet, and the kitchen. 250 square feet out of the 1,000 square foot I had. 750 square feet was waste. And after my dog passed away, it really hit me that I was looking around at my house and said, why do I have this excess, this useless space? And when you have a house and after you distract yourself with filling it with stuff, furniture and home decor, then after you distract yourself by inviting people over to see your stuff, which they don't really care, they got their own stuff on their mind, but they play like they care, they have some drinks, it's nice. Then you say, this house is useless if I'm not going to fill it with a lover, with a family. Now, if you want a family and you're starting a family, I think a house is, needed. Because if you're going to stay in one spot and you're going to grow a family, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Most people are. The masses are. Most of the population will do that. But if you're a single person and you don't see yourself as a family man or family woman, one is make sure you buy the right amount of square foot. Now, they don't make houses 250, 500 square foot houses anymore. They used to, not anymore. And that's why housing has become unaffordable. A small percentage of society owns most of the assets. And even the people who own the assets, they live paycheck to paycheck. Middle class is shrinking. Statistically, that's the facts. But I digress. Back to the main point. That a house is basically a shelter. But it becomes an emotional it becomes an emotional thing that pulls on your psyche, that if you have empty rooms, you need to fill it with people. And you need to get into a relationship because you're going to feel even more lonely. It's like there's something odd about being in a house that's you're by yourself. Have a small house, guys, if you're single and if you don't want a family. Now, if you plan on having a family, if you plan on growing one, do whatever you want. You should always do whatever you want. But my personal life experience, owning a house for 15 years, 1,000 square foot, being a single person, that's what you can expect. You can expect to close on a house, fill it with stuff, furniture, and house decor. You're going to spend time, energy, and money on that, and the renovations never stop. Then you're going to look at the empty rooms, and you're going to want to fill it with people. You're going to have get-togethers. You may invite people to live with you. You think, oh, I'll have someone live with me or have them pay a rent, stay in a room. You just lost your privacy. And you just create a whole nother set of problems in your life. And then, you maybe you start to create relationships based on the fact that you look at a house and it feels empty without people. And this is my experience. So I'm not totally against buying a house or home base, whatever the situation. But what I've learned in my life experience is that you want to have the least amount of square feet that you need. And that's hard in today's society when they build these new houses. You almost have to either build your own tiny house, which is hard to find unrestricted land to do so, have an RV lot, or find a little quaint older house when they still built them like that. A tiny house now is considered like niche, like a niche, I think, which is like, an odd thing. But a tiny house wasn't far off how the sizes of houses used to be built. And in many other parts of the world, we've supersized our houses. There was a whole documentary series on fast food and how over time Americans had supersized all their food and have eaten too big of portions, which was hurting their health, their physical health. Now we have supersized our houses, which is hurting our financial health and our relationship health. Because the bigger the house, the more it is to maintain. That's the more time and energy you got to spend on your house. The less time you spend away from self-care. The less time you're going to spend on quality relationships. And your whole mind is distracted on feeding this house, this super-sized monstrosity, mega mansion, high property tax, dual zone. I got to redo the basement. I got to redo the kitchen. House. I think a house makes you lonelier in many instances, in my experience. I'm not against buying a house necessarily, but I want to bring up buy small, less is more, and focus on building your life, self-care and quality relationships, and only getting relationships because you want to, not getting into a relationship because you want to do Netflix and chill. You want someone to come over to your house. Make a mental note, guys. Peace and love.